Look at that. We're live. Today, temper the mind. Let's read the definition, shall we? Temper. A person's state of mind seen in terms of their being angry or calm. Or the degree of hardness and elasticity in steel or other metal. Improve the hardness or elasticity of steel by reheating and then cooling. Like a blacksmith, right, would temper steel to make swords, etc. The act as a neutralizing or counterbalancing force to something. Now, tempering the mind. Temper the mind. What we allow our minds to do on a daily basis is to run amok. Not because we're lazy or we're bad people, but that's what we've always done. We've allowed it to just run amok. But to temper the mind, funny that word, has to do with heat, because I was watching a show with my boy last night, well, into the wee hours of the morning, as a matter of fact. But they were talking about tempering, and I was like, oh, wait, what? Right? Then you temper the mind. You take it from being this unruly thing, meaning it's all over the place. It's hither and it's yon, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It can't sit still. Well, the nature of something, because the law of vibration tells us that everything moves. Everything moves. Nothing stands still, including the mind. So allow it to do what it's designed to do. Think. But you tell it what to think, instead of entertaining just memories that show up, apparently randomly, even though it's not random. Something triggers the mind. Something triggers that memory that is stored. And sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, depending on your level of awareness. But the ability to temper the mind is to put the mind somewhere. You're not forcing it to stay. You're just gently redirecting it if it wanders away. Like the baby. Oh, so cute. It crawls towards the stove to touch the glass on the oven. And you just gently pick it up and put it back in front of its toys. Every time. Without fail. Pick it up and put it back in front of its toys. Meaning, put your mind back where you say it should be. Right? When you practice doing that, it means what? It means it's quite like an ebb and flow. You understand the law of rhythm. When you consistently put your mind in a particular direction, you polarize yourself there. Yes, that's the only thing that has your focus. That's where you're polarized. The more you keep your mind there, you build momentum. Well, why is that important? When you build momentum for your mind, quite like the ebb, every time that wave in the ocean pulls itself back, and it thrusts forward. Every time it pulls back, it gathers strength. This is what you're doing with your mind. Every time you focus the mind and it stays there, the longer it stays there, the more powerful it becomes. Well, why is that? Because it's in the end. You're building strength. And not just building strength willy-nilly. You already know, because we hear it all the time, energy flows where attention goes. So wherever you are polarized in your mind, whatever direction you're focused on, that's where the power is. That is where the power is. Why is it important to be able to focus? Because when you can focus in one direction, right, for an extended amount of time, seriously, that's where the power is. The power to do what? Well, then that's up to you, depending on what it is. What is it you're practicing? You see, we think telepathy is this thing that's so, that's so mystical. Then in actuality, it's the law of gender, a projection. You have the capacity to project from your mind, your conscious mind, to the subconscious mind of someone else consciously. It means you stand there and you project it out to that person and you have an interaction with them. Oh, but Angela, that's not possible, is it? But of course it is. It sure is. It takes practice, though. You hear anybody who talks about any kind of extraterrestrial encounter they had, they always tell you they were never spoken to verbally. They were communicated with telepathically, like a download. What do you think is happening when you download information? You get an idea, a moment, right? It's telepathic. But because we don't take the time to practice a singular focus for an extended amount of time, we don't even know. And here's the word, telekinesis, moving things with the mind. This is also scientifically proven. I saw an episode on Gaia where they had this this device that they had created, and they put it under glass, meaning you couldn't blow on it or shake the table, like you couldn't touch it, but all you had to do was focus on it and it would turn in the direction that you are turning it in your mind. Yes. Temper the mind. You have to be able to just sit there and have your mind stay where you put it. As Queen Red Pill says, a gentle persuasion. A gentle persuasion. You can't beat the mind into submission, even though it might feel like you're doing it, but you're not. You're not using any force. You're just using a gentle redirection. What do I mean by that? You just bring it back. You say, oh, we're focused on inhale and exhale. So when you inhale, that's what's going through your mind. When you exhale, you're feeling, when you inhale, you feel your lungs. You feel the coolness of the air. When you exhale, you feel the warmth of the air leaving your body. All you're focused on is that inhale and exhale, that sensation, and what it feels like as it flows through your body physically. That's the only thing you're thinking about. When somebody says, can you put your awareness on your knees? So instead of touching your knee with your hand, you put your mind on your knee. That's what you do. You put it, you send it there. When something throbs and it hurts, you're like, oh, it catches your attention right away. Your mind is now there. You are singularly focused on that part of your body because it hurts. It has your attention, so now you are focused on it. Now, what if you could tell that part of your body what to do? Oh, but you already do it. This is your exercise today. As you go through the day, practice tempering your mind. Practice giving it a singular focus. A singular focus. And every time your focus is moved somewhere else, gently bring it back. Something will happen when you do that. You would have to tell me, I'm not in your body to experience it. Only you will experience what it feels like to do it. The reason why I'm saying this to you, we all want things that we want to practice doing, right? You say, oh, I want to learn how to, I don't know, astral project. I just want to learn how to meditate. Well, It's not a quieting of the mind. It's not stopping yourself from thinking, because everything moves. This is law. So if it's going to move, tell it how to move. Meaning, give it a focus. Give it an activity to think about. The more you begin to practice doing that activity, right? So if you say, oh, well, I just want to go outside and stand there and listen. So if you're just going to stand there and listen, what are you going to hear? You'll hear the cars, you'll hear the birds, and the only thing you're focused on is the sound of outside, or the sounds. There's no, did I turn off the stove? I gotta go get a coffee. Oh, I gotta call George. It is just simply listening. What can you identify as you listen? So you see, that practice may seem mundane. It may seem boring. It may seem as if it doesn't have a purpose, but it does have a purpose. The better you become at holding your focus, now you can channel. Oh, we think channeling just has to do with, like Esther Hicks, or snap. Somebody else also channeled. Edgar Casey. We think that's channeling. We think that's all channeling is. No. It's taking in information and focusing it somewhere to do something. That's what you're doing. But again, only you will know once you begin to practice. And don't practice like it is a chore. Practice the way children do. Curiosity. I wonder what happens when I ... Then I focus on whatever that is. It's quite like scrying, looking into a mirrored surface, a crystal ball, a basin of water, a mirror. Just all you're doing is staring in it. That's the ability to focus the mind just there. I wonder what would happen if I did that. If I practice singularly focusing my mind for 5 minutes every day, I wonder what I will develop. Oh. You see, that is how you temper the mind. Why I say temper? Because temper is associated with usually heat. The blacksmith. But the light of the law is like that. It burns away anything that is impure, you could say. When you shine light on something, you understand it better. Why? Something's been removed so you can see clearly. So to temper the mind just takes practice. Whether you think it is beneficial or not, you get good at whatever it is you practice. And because you've practiced it incessantly, it is now stored in your subconscious mind. You can now pull up that activity and do anything with it, because it's right there for you to access. So what are you going to practice doing? With a singular focus. Artists, dancers, singers, they do this all the time. It's easier to see it in that aspect, right? Because you get that physical evidence on the outside. Like if you're watching somebody doing boxing, you'll begin to see exactly when they tire. When they get tired, you'll see it. If you are simply focused on them, when they get tired, you'll see it. You'll see when the mind loses its focus. You'll see it because the body will respond in kind to show you, right? So developing the skill of observation, just being able to just look at a thing and just do nothing else but look at that thing and how it moves. You begin to learn about that thing, right? Who else does that? I keep telling you, you do it naturally. Who does that? Anybody who's casing a location. Why? Because you'll know a man by his habits. So that means you'll have to watch that person. Just watch them. You'll learn a lot about them. But you have to be able to sit there and focus. That's it. It's a learned behavior. The thing you're doing has to hold your attention. That's why I say do something that is intriguing for you. Be curious because it'll hold your attention. As opposed to, oh God, do I really have to practice? Once my grandmother figured out that I enjoyed playing tambourine, she didn't have to use force to make me sit still in church. Nope, she just had to give me the tambourine. And all I would do after worship service was over was just sit there and wait so I could play again. Oh, and I was focused because you would know then it was time to play again. So I just sat there and I waited. And I was focused. I didn't hear a single word that was being said. But I knew when the pastor changed his tone. Because I was just waiting. I only had one focus, and that was, ooh, I'm playing tambourine. I'm going to play the tambourine. That's it. When you do that thing and you're quite intrigued by it, you're curious about it, and it has your attention, has you in its thrall is the word, has you wrapped, R-A-P-T, raptured in it, you will stay focused without even having to try. It's like watching a baby sleep. You know, when you bring your baby home and you're just looking at them, you're watching their chest rise and fall. You don't hear anything else. You're just listening. You're just watching them. You're fully focused. There are things that we already do. It's just that we're not aware that we're doing them. And we do them naturally because that is the design of the human. That's why knowing yourself, not just what you like and what you don't like and how you behave in a particular situation. No, everything about the human. We are habitual creatures. We like to do the same thing the same way every time. So then, begin to develop a habit consciously. That's what we're designed to do. So the more time, effort, energy you put into tempering your mind, getting it sharp, well, read more. There's brain activities. There's focusing the body. Queen Rector says you can tell your body exactly what to do. That's how I release any body tension. I focus on a part and tell it to relax, to totally relax. But that's exactly what you do. When you want to get up off the couch or when you want to open the door, you give a command. Watch it next time you do it and you'll see what I'm saying. Watch it next time and you'll see what you're doing. You didn't just get up. The thought of getting up was there first. And then you moved. You see, you're always telling your body what to do. Your body always will follow a command. So learn to temper your mind. Learn to hone it. Learn to use it and get it really sharp. Oh, but Angela, I really struggle with memory and remembering things. Then practice recalling information. Practice recalling information. There's memory games. You know the little cards you flip over, and when they match the pair, you're like, yay, because you remembered where it was. Practice doing things like that. Practice recalling information. The more you practice recalling information, the faster you get at recalling information. I tell you, we do these things on a daily basis. We just don't know that that's what we're doing because we do it on autopilot. The key is to program the things on autopilot that you put there. We've already learned to read, writing, walking, talking. You know, you've learned to do those things. But now what else? Would you like to know how to do? What would you like to know how to do? Begin to practice that. And remember to use your mirror neurons. The minute you look upon something, like if you see dance moves, right? And you're a dancer, oh, you've already sharpened those mirror neurons to pick up dance moves. And so you are primed to do them. And this is why you remember the steps so easily. Right? If you're a singer, your ear is in tune. You can hear the melody, the harmonies, whichever parts of the harmonies. Ad libs, we call them, where you just hear a run in your mind. And you're like, as soon as you hear that run in your mind, you open your mouth and bam, it comes out. Why? Because you have practiced the art of singing. Your mirror neurons are sharp when it comes to picking up the sound, the beat, the tempo. You cook or you bake, those mirror neurons are there. You can tell if you have overbeat that souffle or not. You can tell. You can tell. Sometimes by touch alone. So you see, you're always doing what you are designed to do. We call it biohacking, like figuring out a shortcut. It just means you become aware of what you are designed to do and how you do it. It is that awareness of a thing that allows you to quote unquote hack it. Let us take a moment to welcome everyone into the space this morning, shall we? Elle, hey. Oh, Tiffany and Javion are here. Meep is here. Good morning, Jeff. Lilith is here. And Ruru. Hey, y'alls. I see you. I see you. Yes. Lilith, I trust you're gonna post more music. Listen, you guys don't even know we got a songbird in the house. What? Shouldn't even call her a songbird. It's quite angelic. Very talented young lady. Well, that means you gotta follow me on Twitter then. Right? Or if Lilith would be so kind as to share something, I will post it as well. Look at you. You go, girl. Listen, we have to celebrate the people in our community, don't we? Of course we do. Who's on Fanbase? Hey, Casey. Flo Smiles. Miss McQueen. Summer Rose. I see you. Zola. I see you. Thank you for being here on Fanbase today. I see you all. And on Facebook, we have Indy. Hey, girl. YouTube, who do we have? We have Cyber, Queen Red Pill, A-Not, Angel Spills. Well, hello. It is good to see you, Lady D. And we have David. Oh, well, good morning, Sonia. And for all the others who have not made themselves known in the chat, I see you. And for the replay gang, hey, y'all, I see you too. What does Cyber say here? Cyber says, use it or lose it. It is so true when it comes to this. Oh, he says, I've been slacking and now controlled attention is super hard. That Neville quote, the mind is an unruly animal, you have to train it. Oh, you see? Now, I like Neville's quote, but that could be a little bit harsh. Unruly. If it's an unruly thing, it means you're going to have to break it. You have to use force if it's unruly. But if you say it is quite like a baby, just put it where you want it to go and put it there gently. Why the baby? The reason I use the baby is because babies don't know how to speak yet. They don't know how to walk yet. They don't even know how to communicate fully the way we do. They have their way. So if they're doing something that you don't want them to do, you don't get mad because they don't understand. They don't know. You have to be gentle with them. Be gentle with your mind as well. That gentleness, right? When you use it, it will not, you don't force the mind. You entice the mind. Gentle persuasion, if you will. All in the tone you take with your mind. This is why a hypnotist is not going to holler at you. No, but they will speak gently to you, yes? But of course they will. I guess everything has its time. There's a time and a place. Sometimes you holler, sometimes you don't. It just depends. But persuasion. I love that word. Persuasion. Hey, the better man, I see you. David said he prefers the baby instead of the wild animal. Well, perspective. That's the only reason why I suggested the baby. Because you see yourself as an animal, you'll treat yourself like one, most likely. And you'll think it's harder to do. But if you remember, you're simply teaching it. This is why I always say, you don't punish, you educate, you teach. Why? Because punish causes us to be harsh. But Angela, are you crazy? You have to be harsh. You see the world? My people, what? Perish for lack of knowledge. You do dumb things because you don't know. And sometimes you might know, and you still do it anyway. Teach. You'll get a lot more out of teaching somebody. Well, is that not what's being done at the moment? Are children not being taught something? Oh, how are they being taught? By way of repetition and strong feeling. Again, this is the natural design of the human. Why? Because children learn faster. They have less knowledge, meaning less ego, meaning less things that they know. That's why you start with them. Because once you learn something, once you learn it, it can be a little bit challenging to learn something else. That's why if you train up a child in the way it should go, it will not depart from it. Because it is their mind that is supple and easy to mold. So if you find, right, this is why I like what Bruce Lee said, being like water. It's the mind. Don't have the mind be so rigid as in this way, that way. No, observe the situation, flow with. You go with it. But that comes when you begin to temper the mind. Having the ability to focus, to learn. Right? That way you can use the mind. Hear me, you can use the mind. If you're gentle with it, right? and you take your time to hone it and train it, well, now you can use it as a feather, or you can use it as a brick. You can use it to match the situation. Does the situation call for gentleness? Does the situation call for more force? You can mold and shape the mind, and it will become what you need it to be in that moment. Right? So you can use it as an animal, or you can use it as a flower. It just simply depends on what you're doing with it. It becomes the tool that you need right now for whatever situation you're currently in. You just have to be able to, you just have to practice. Cyber says, my mind is the animal right now, but should be the baby within a few days. Just gentleness is all that's required. Yes. Yes. And this is, I've never trained a horse. Yeah, I'm actually afraid of horses. Why? When you're pocket sized, right? I am 4'11". When you're pocket sized, a Shetland pony is more the thing. You know, it's my size. But a horse. But you know what? We have wild horses here. They are the most spectacular things I've ever seen. They are beautiful, but they're so big. And I'm like, you know, don't hurt me, y'all. Right? I stay at a distance. But they tell you to train a horse, you've got to break it. And I'm like, what? Why would you break it? There has to be a better way of looking at this. You should be able to persuade the horse to do something. You're taking a free mind. Hmm. To get used to a saddle and a bit in its mouth. That's what you're doing. So yeah, you'd have to break it. But what if you allowed the horse, I don't know, to be a horse, develop a relationship of trust with the animal? I've always thought that. Why should I have to put a bit in its mouth and make it do something? If it likes me and I like it, and we get to know each other, and it trusts me and allows me to get on its back, well then we can do things. Perhaps that's my naivete. I have no idea. But it's always something I thought of. I always thought of that because growing up in Barbados, my cousins, they weren't jockeys, but they were horse groomers for horse racing, right? And they always said to me, well, you should be a jockey. And I'm like, you're crazy, because I was so small. But I never liked that you'd had to put a bit in its mouth and whip it to make it do something. That, no. And that's why I say there has to be a more gentle approach. I think definitely. They don't communicate with words, but they can feel vibrations. Not just because they have 4 legs and they're connected to the ground, but they know what kind of person you are because they sense your vibration. So we have to be able to communicate that way. But how would you do that if you don't spend time tempering your mind, opening yourself up to feel vibrations, sensing things, developing your spidey senses? All of that comes out of doing what? Tempering the mind. By practicing a singular focus. We have such a beautiful gift, Our awareness is truly beautiful. That is why you are always being encouraged to know yourself. Why? Because when you get around something that is not you, you'll know. Be so skilled at you that you will sense. I know Dr. Joe Dispenza, when he talks about feeling the greater space around you. You have to be able to tell where your body ends and something greater than you can now sense. This is, oh, it only comes when you spend that time with a singular focus. Whether it's your breathing, there's something called proprioception, meaning you know where your body is in time and space. If you close your eyes and your otoliths are working, the little crystals in your ear, if they're working, they're standing upright, you are upright. So if you stretch your hand out, you know where your hand is. And if you don't touch something that's there, but you can sense something there. With your eyes closed, you can sense where your fingertips end and something else begins. I keep telling you, we do this naturally. This is why if you're laying next to someone, you don't have to touch them to know that they're there. You can feel them. You can sense them. This is what happens with babies when you co-sleep with them. You are well aware of where you end and where they begin. This is why you don't drink or do drugs when you're co-sleeping, because that diminishes your senses. So you can't feel them. Right? And then that's where injury comes in. But you ask any mother, we don't sleep heavy. At least I don't. Not anymore. It's like your ears are always open because you're listening. Like you're primed to listen for that child. But what did we do? We intercepted it with baby monitors. So now you no longer have to use that sense. I tell you, we do these things naturally already. If a baby has a fever in the middle of the night and you are sleeping next to it, you are wide awake because you feel the temperature change. You feel the temperature change. Their breathing changes, everything. You sense it and you're like, what? What's going on? But if you're not near them, you're not sharpening that sense that you have naturally. But if you pay attention, it's frowned upon to co-sleep. What if you roll over on the baby? Trust me, y'all. If you have not drank anything or taken any drugs, you're not going to roll over on your baby. Those instances are few and far between. The design of the human. You're primed. But because we don't use that sense anymore, right? We don't practice it anymore. So we lose it unless you go and you actually do it. So that's why I say when you begin to temper your mind by putting it where you want it to be, you open up so much more to yourself that you're not aware of. They are latent skills that the human has. Meaning there's things that are just laying there undiscovered, uncharted territory. We project ourselves into space. We plumb the depths of the ocean, but never do we plumb the depths or heights of our own minds. Because that's not cool. Only because you were told it wasn't cool, but it is. It is. And the only way to do it is to practice tuning in to who you are. How you tune in? Sit there and just breathe. And the more focused you become on that inhale and exhale, you begin to feel your body. You'll feel it. It's a beautiful thing. So that is the exercise that is suggested that you practice. Oh, you make the time to practice that. I trust your curiosity is aroused to see, whoa, what can I do? What am I capable of? right? What are you capable of doing? The only way to know is to practice, focus in your mind. That's the whole point. And because we are this beautiful intuitive thing. We are the human, a beautiful intuitive thing. There's an awareness inside the body. You are the awareness in your body, but you've given the body a name, Angela. So now you think you're just Angela. You think you're just Lilith. You think you're just Summer Rose. No, that's your body's name. But your awareness, you that's inside the body, what are you capable of doing? What are you capable of teaching your body to do? Well, I guess you'll have to practice and find out. It just doesn't sound as fun when you say it that way. But because there's young, delicate ears in the space, I won't say the other way of saying it, Yes, Queen Red Pill, turning us into robots. We don't do natural things anymore. Right? That's why you temper. Because when the master said that to him last night in a show that we were watching, he said, but I'm not metal, I'm human. And I'm like, oh snap. That is correct. So to temper the human, you have to start with the mind. So that you can learn the art of transmutation, mental transmutation, taking an undesirable emotion and using that energy and turning it into something else. Alchemy. But how would you know to do that when you can't recognize what you're feeling at a given time? Temper the mind. Practice doing it on a daily basis, and you will surprise yourself. Practice it, and you'll see. Have you ever honed in on just listening to your heartbeat? It's tripped out because I seem to be able to hear the swoosh in my ears, when your blood's pumping through your veins. And I'm like, what in the? I'm like, is my blood pressure low? I'm like, why am I hearing this right now? And I just hone in on it. I'm like, well, I don't know. We'll see if I can keep hearing it all day. Or if I get my mind pulled somewhere else. Yes. Just practice. Spend some time. If you take, because we are creatures of habit, if you say every day at this time, for this amount of time, I will do this. Do it and see what happens. Do it and see what happens. Do it for 7 days and see what happens. Every day at this time, I'm going to do this thing. You know that if you do that every day at the same time, the same thing, like working out, you know your muscles are going to grow. You know this, as within, so without. So what will happen to you mentally if you do a mental exercise every day at the same time for the same length of time? The only way to know is to do it. And you'll find your mind becomes very sharp. If you practice watching, like a voyeur, if you practice watching, what are you looking at? If you tell yourself, I'm looking for this thing, I'm just going to look for it. How frequently will you see it? And will you see it and go, oh, yeah, oh, there it is, oh, there it is? Or do you practice listening for something? And you will find that your senses will tune themselves. You are sharpening yourself. right? That's how you temper your mind. You get it to, you get it to perform for you. Remember, you are the one controlling it because you're inside the body. That's the whole point. If you practice songwriting, if you practice script writing, and you say, oh, you know what I'm looking for here? Whatever I hear today, I want to hear a unique melody, or I want to conjure up a unique storyline. You are going to be singularly focused as you go through your day, because what you just told yourself, a unique melody. So it could be bird song, it could be the wind in the leaves in a particular rhythm, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, you move in a particular way, and that's a new song. Or you walk by and somebody's having a conversation, and then you're like, oh, that would make for a fantastic story. Point yourself in the direction you want to go in. Polarize yourself. So you have to practice putting your mind somewhere. And you don't beat yourself up because you think you failed. Oh my God, I couldn't stay focused. You just haven't been practicing long enough. That's all it means. Remember, we allow the emotions to rule us considerably too much in a day. What are you doing? You're practicing focus? Good. Every time you look somewhere else, bring yourself back to the focused thing. Where's the emotion in that? There isn't one. You're doing something. I'm looking for yellow butterflies. Oh, good, squirrel. Is that, no, bring it back. Yellow butterfly, squirrel. Bring it back. Yellow butterfly. Versus, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Can't you do this? You're so dumb. Like, how long is it going to take you to do this? Everybody else seems to be able to do it, but you. Cause and effect. There's no emotion in there. Do the activity and hone it. That does not require you to feel good or feel bad. It requires you to focus. Now, how you focus? Are you enjoying what you're doing? That is what will deliberately keep you focused. If you're like, oh, I like this. And you're not saying because I like it, because you want to feel good about it. You are using the raw energy of, I feel good. Yeah, that's what you're doing. You're using that raw energy to keep you polarized in the direction you say you're focused in. You're deliberately doing it. Instead of, this is so hard. That's just human nature running amok. We know practicing is challenging. Of course we know that. Anything you do and learn at first is challenging. This is known. So why overreact? You already know. Then become deliberate about what you know. So if you know, this is going to take a little bit of practice, but I can do this. Now you're being deliberate because you know it will take you some practice to master the self. And because you know that, now it becomes a pleasure to do what? To master the self. And now you do it deliberately with pleasure. And you use that joy and that pleasure to fuel the activity you're doing and to keep yourself focused, instead of allowing yourself to be pulled in another direction because you're emotional. I get so emotional, baby. I digress. Well, Queen Red Pill, she says, I'm going to start doing that with my instrument. I do practice daily for a certain amount of time, but now I will incorporate doing it at the same time. Why is that? because you want to maximize your potential. Meaning what? You know that we learn by way of habit. And the more you do that thing the same way every time, the better and sharper you become. You just hacked the system by recognizing that we're creatures of habit and that we have the capacity and the capability to program our own habits into ourselves consciously. And that is what optimizes your output. That's what makes you the best at what you practice. That's it. They're pretty straightforward. It is pretty straightforward. So don't be scared. just practice. Really and truly. And I say to take pleasure in what you're doing because you're not just taking pleasure because it feels good. You take pleasure because you comprehend the function of feeling good. Because if you feel bad about what you're doing, think about where you're polarized. Because what influences the polarity of something? The vibration. Because everything moves. The law of vibration tells you this. So if you are polarized in the, God, really? I have to get up and do this again today. Well, then your work will be much harder and more challenging because that is the vibration that you are at. But if you get up and consciously say, "Ooh, I'm going to get better at this the more I practice. Oh, this is nice." Well, now your vibration is where? You raise me up. Yeah, you've raised your vibration. And so now the thing that you are doing becomes more potent. And all you've done is change the vibration. Don't make me do it. Just a good vibration. Sorry. You hear what I'm telling you today? Now when you go through your day, you may think I'm nuts. But when you practice and you recall what I did, you'll feel that shift within yourself. And you'll remind yourself, yeah, she crazy, but she right. The vibration does change. Not because I say so, but because it is law, and you're just recognizing it for yourself. And all I do is what I do to help you recall the information. When something moves you emotionally, you'll remember. Oh, indeed. Yes, Queen Red Pill, you have to be excited to see what's going to turn out. What will you become? What are you cultivating yourself to become? What are you molding and shaping yourself into? That is how you temper your mind. Right? You don't just look at it as a chore because now you're polarized in the direction of, oh God, with dread. Remember, we do things, right? Naturally. Children learn, but it looks like they're playing. You ever see baby cheetahs? Oh, they're so cute. And they run and they pounce on each other. They're learning through play. Because pretty soon that pounce is not cute anymore, is it? But they've practiced it over and over and over again. We do it naturally. You just now need to become aware of it. Anywho, don't make me start preaching. Lord Jesus. Hey, Nadia. Triple S. Hey, Mr. Benjamin. Is that how it is? Is it Mr. Benjamin? I don't know, but it's Mr. Benjamin. That's all I can see. It's good to see you here. I trust these things make a little bit of sense to you today on how we can temper our minds. It is a beautiful thing. It is a very beautiful thing. You savor it. You use it to its full capacity, to its fullest. We haven't, as I said, we haven't even tapped into all that we can do yet. Shoot, we haven't even scratched the surface. Why is that? Because the attention is somewhere else. If I can make you look somewhere else and do something else, then you won't be honing and tempering your own mind, will you? I wonder what purpose that serves. Now you have a planet of 8 billion people who don't know how to hold focus. And a house divided against itself, yikes, can never stand, can it? You make yourself vulnerable when you don't focus. Mm. How is that accomplished? By pitting one against the other. That's why. That's why. You see, when we come across twins, what do? We only see their similarities. Well, pretend that everybody's your twin and look for your similarity. Because everybody is you. Because there's only one consciousness. Only one. And when you begin to see and recognize and comprehend that there is but one consciousness, we think, right? When you say there's one consciousness, we think, you mean I'm like Jeffrey Dahmer? No, that's not what I'm saying. He has his own personality based upon how he was raised. There's simply one awareness that powers everything. You see, when we look at one another, we judge based upon previous experience. When you practice tempering your mind, you will begin to see the similarities between us all. Well, rainbows and butterflies. But that's what it is. When you begin to recognize that there is but one consciousness, you will see your neighbor differently. And the scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, will begin to make more sense. Because if you do not know how to love, how can you love someone else? It is law of correspondence. You only do what you know. You only reap what you have sown. So in order to love others, you must first love the self. And to love the self, you must get to know the self. If you know you, as in written in the art of war, if you know you, you'll know your opponent. Fancy that. Anywho, that's what I'll leave you with today. Practice tempering your mind. This is exercise number 2. What is exercise number 1? Do you remember? Are you still doing it? Exercise number 1 is recognizing where you have allowed your mind to be polarized. I'll give you an example. We spoke about it on Monday night when we spoke about King David and Bathsheba. Bathsheba was bathing on the rooftop. Now think about that. Oh no, she wasn't a hoe. That's not what we're talking about. Think about 2 things. She's naked and she's on the roof. What does that tell you? It tells you that the thing that is coming for your attention has to be potent to get your attention. That's why nudity and the rooftop. That's what it symbolizes. Something has to be strong to capture your attention. Yes. So what did you allow to capture your attention? That's where you were polarized. Did you catch it before you were polarized? Which means you saw the projection and you said, oh, I can dodge this, or oh, I will fully engage. Or did it happen and then you caught it 2020 hindsight? You say, oh, snap, I was just polarized. That's the exercise. Where did you allow yourself to be polarized? Did you polarize yourself deliberately? Or did you just, follow blindly? That's the first exercise. You've got to be able to see those things. Because the naked woman on the roof that gets your attention, now how will you act? Ask King David and he'll tell you exactly what he did. He acted a fool because he did not recognize what was happening. He did not recognize that he was being projected into and that he was being polarized. He didn't recognize it. And look what he did because he didn't recognize it. If you don't know the story, well, he called her husband and said, "Oh, I'll make you general in my army." And so he put him on the front line and he told the others, when the enemy advances, pull back. And there's that lone man standing on the front lines. Well, you know how the outcome. As you say in Barbados, he didn't last as long as a snow cone. He didn't. So when you are being projected into and something has you polarized, if you don't catch it, your behavior right, is going to be influenced by that thing. That's all. Anywho, Cyber, naked on the rooftop. Does that mean she represents the mind? She's the law of gender. Gender. She's projecting. That's what she is. She's this thing. Yes. David is the mind. He was projected into. So conscious to subconscious. Right? Subconsciously, he was affected by her nakedness. She was the one projecting the nudity because she was on the rooftop. That is the law of gender. So you see, that's what happens. Something was projected into his mind. And because he didn't question, he didn't test it, he didn't do anything. He just went along with it because he was ruled by his feelings. He was ruled by his feelings. And that's why he acted a fool. Right? As my grandfather would say, everything the eye see you shouldn't want. Huh? Everything the eye sees, you shouldn't want it. Why? Examine the thing that's coming at you. Examine the projection. Always examine the projection. Because then it tells you something. It's going to show you who you are, first of all, or who you think you are. And then now you can choose from there how you're going to act. Aw, Angel, thank you. Thanks for being here. It was great to see you. But you feel me, right? Because right now we just walk around aimlessly and we allow ourselves to be mentally impregnated. We allow a projection from someone's masculine mind into our feminine mind. Somebody, in other words, is planting seeds in the garden of your mind, and you're the one that will reap the harvest. Whether you know that or you don't know that is irrelevant. You'll have the experience, thereby reaping the harvest that has been planted in your mind. So you want to make sure that you are the one planting the seeds in your own mind. But that means you have to spend some time with you and get to know you. Shoot, 5 minutes every day, same time. Oh, but Angela, that's so much work. Wait, you're trying to tell me that you would rather get to know somebody else and not get to know you? Huh. Well, charity begins at home. That sounds like the law of correspondence to me, as within, so without. If you don't know you and you don't spend time to get to know you, how are you possibly going to get to know somebody else? Huh? Well, you won't know what to do. Remember, the thing on the inside is the blueprint for what you recreate. It is law. So whatever that thing is that you've got on the inside, well, that's what you're recreating. You can do that consciously, or you can do it unconsciously. But either way, it is always governed by law, nothing else. Good, bad, or indifferent. Anywho, y'all know where to find me. I'm not gonna preach anymore. You want to learn the law? Come to law school. The link is in my bio, in my Patreon. Teach you how to do it here every day, but there's a depth. You want to send me an email, you have questions, slide into my DMs. The Linktree has every single social media that I'm on. No, I'm not on Thread. This girl is just, Lord have mercy, please. Not another platform. Right? So I'll hold out as long as I can. I just got on TikTok. So we'll see. But you can find me on any of those social media platforms. If you like what we do here on the channel and you want to support the channel, you can join a membership for 99 cents a month. That's where it starts. You can do that. Yes, you can. It would be greatly appreciated. Or if you want to send a donation, again, that little $ link is in the bio in my Linktree. You can do that as well. Or you can do a super chat, whatever moves you. Whatever moves you. If you have a topic you would like to understand better by way of law, there's a little envelope in that Linktree where you can send me an email. And we'll talk about it. Oh, on Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be with Lance on his channel. And do you want to know what the topic will be? Porn and the law. Indeed. Why? You see, we think that things are just random and willy-nilly. When you begin to understand the nature of the human and the design of the human, you will understand why porn is as prevalent as it is, and how to, I want to break free, right? And how are you gonna do that? Apply the law to free yourself from any undesirable habit. But I'll walk you through the progression of that habit in the first place. I keep saying to us on a daily basis, you see, judgment will blind the eye. Seek to comprehend a situation, not to judge it. Seek to comprehend the situation. When you understand, comprehend, when you get why something is the way it is, you are now free of it. But that's not my opinion. It is the law. Why? Because the universe is a mental creation. If you don't understand that one simple thing, Cyber says, Angela has entered the no-fap sphere. Never thought I'd see the day. Well, you know, Cyber, it's just that when people ask me questions, right, and they feel ashamed, I need you to understand, if you cannot learn if you are ashamed to even speak about something. Again, this is why comprehension is a must. When you understand yourself and the design of the human, and you look at it and you have the ability to recognize a projection, now you can project what? Who you say you want to be, and you can protect yourself. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to be like, oh my God, I'm so gross. Ew. You don't, listen, Judgment will blind the eye and you will remain as you are. That's period. Hey. Right? So there's no sense in being ashamed. Understand. So that you can change. If that's what you want to do. And then you'll understand why you want to change and why you don't want to change. But if you don't get those things, you will always feel defeated and hopeless. So that's why we're going to talk about it. Because it's... Sade just popped into my head. Sweetest taboo. It's a taboo thing. But it's only taboo because we make it so. But if you... That's why I say teach. So that someone understands. It goes for any subject you can think of. The law is in it. Everything goes by way of law. It's by law. That's why that scripture tells you. Cyber, tell me where it is, because wait, hold on, y'all. I'm gonna go pull it up. Hold tight. Hold tight. Handed over to your desire. I think I can find it from there because that's the only part. Romans 1:24. Therefore, God gave them over. Let me read the rest of it. Romans 1 verse 24. Therefore, God gave them over in the sinful desire of their hearts to sexual impurity for the degrading of their bodies with one another. Do you know why that happened? Because we are creatures of habit, and the habit must be fulfilled. That's why. Not because God is cruel and he's going to punish you. No, it is because a habit, once you develop a habit, it must be fulfilled every single time. Because now it rules you. That's the point. So that's why you don't judge. Because every single one of us has the potential to be what? Ruled by our habits. Every single one of us, because we have the exact same design. We are creatures of habit. So again, scripture, that's why when you look at your neighbor, don't you see the plank in his eye and say, dude, you see that plank in your eye? You're calling him out, but you don't see the speck of dust in yours? See, judgment blinds the eye. Judgment blinds the eye. Learn to comprehend, which means you have to spend time with yourself to get to know you, to understand your nature. Know thyself and you will know God. How so? By way of the law of correspondence. Anywho, that's this Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think Lance will have a link ready for me either today or tomorrow, and I'll post it in the community section on YouTube so that you can click on that link and, say notify me, and you can go there and you can share that link. Because, again, there's no judgment. There's simply understanding, comprehension. Oh, I can feel your questions already. Don't fret. We'll understand things by way of law. And that's why whether you do something that's good, bad, or indifferent, the activity is governed by law. Yeah? So, anywho, I keep saying parting is such sweet sorrow, yet here I am. Cyber, this is the last of the gravy from the bowl, baby. That's it, right? So, you know where to find me. And yes, I'm going to rest for a moment because when this child wakes up, we have to continue the series. Oh, yes, indeed. We're continuing the series. So, because there are many episodes. Yeah. But it's riveting, though. It is. Anywho, I love you all. Let me shout you out. L, Tiffany and Javion, Meep, Jeff, Love Troll, Lilith, darling. Thank you all for being here on Twitter. You know I love you. And I will see you in the morning. Yes. Whispers in the morning. Anyway, Lindy on. Love you, Twitter. Twitter is closed. I just love you guys, man. Fanbase, Triple S, NJ, and then Nadia, KZ, Matthias, Flo Smiles, Miss McQueen, Yolanda, Zola. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for the love. Thank you for spending time with me this morning. And I trust you found it to be useful and you will apply it to your day. Okay? Love you, fan base. Fan base is closed. So let me, oh, there's a, Zola, I'm sure you will pop over here on YouTube. Lavozio, hey, it's good to see you. I'll respond, Zola, darling. I'll respond. Hey, girl, I'll respond. I see you. I'll respond to your DM. I'm going to get into the chat, though. I like being in the chat on YouTube. So I'm not going to, this is, where is my YouTube icon? Like, seriously. Oh, there it is. There it is. But yeah, see, now I can drop confetti in there because I like confetti. I can't do that from StreamYard because I don't know the face. The little icons to use. Oh, you're gonna bring your popcorn for that one? Queen Red Pill. Let me tell you, I am looking forward to the questions. I truly am. And so that's why I say if you have a topic that you really want to understand by way of law and how to apply the law and understand why this thing is happening, it only happens one way, by way of law. Just submit the topic and we'll look at it. We'll examine and peel back the layers, you know? Yeah. That's what is so beautiful about the law. It's not going to judge you. It's just going to ask you, where are you now and what are you doing? Where do you want to be and what do you want to be doing? It's always going to ask you that. Not because it has a personality, but that's the function that it does. And it allows you to be honest with yourself when you apply the law. That's one of the most important things. It allows you to be honest with the self without judgment, yes? Because when you're honest with yourself, now you can make a change. Well, think about it. If you don't say where you are and what you're doing, right? If you don't say that honestly, well, you know, I'm here. I don't like how I feel about this. You know, when you do that, just be honest. Why? Because when polarity asks you now about where do you want to be and what do you want to be doing, when you look at the list you just wrote, when you say I'm barefoot, well, you can't want to dress. But if you're not honest with yourself to say, oh my God, I'm naked, you see what you'll create on the other side? So if you say honestly, you know what? I'm using these little ones because they're easier to grasp right away. I'm naked over here. I have no clothes. I'm totally exposed to the elements. Well then, obviously, what is required is clothing. But if you say, I am hungry, when in actuality you are naked, food will not fix the problem. That's why honesty is required. Not so you can be judged, but so you can fix the problem. So you have to see the problem honestly so that you can see the solution. Does that make sense? That's the beauty of what we have. And so the sooner we recognize that we have that ability, it'll come when you start practicing tempering your mind. Just a simple 5 minutes. The same time, same time, same place, same back channel. That's what it is. So just do that, and many things will open up for you. You'll begin to see it because you're polarized in that direction. And the direction that you're polarized in will show you much and will help you. You're not helpless. Oh, Queen Red Pill. Well, she says, I learned so much more about myself when I listened to you teach about the law. Much gratitude and appreciation. Queen Red Pill, you are so welcome. I learned lots about me when I spend time with the law as well. It is a most beautiful thing. It heals so many wounds that we walk around with, if you think about it. Like I said, the law becomes what you need it to be without changing itself. If you want to heal the wounds that you walk around with, the pain that you walk around with, apply the law to that. It is a balm. It will become an ointment for you. And there's so much of that in the world. But if only we could reach all those ears. That's why sharing these videos anywhere that you can is so helpful. Because people are seeking. And by way of law, if you seek, you shall find. I'm not doing anything different, right? I'm just staying faithful to the law and teaching that. And for the ones who are looking to heal or looking to grow, they will find the law. That's it, right? It is a beautiful thing, and revel in that beauty, because it will show you where all the other beauty is. It really does. It really, truly does. And that's what moves me to act every single day. Right? Oh, sure, it's not just about material things. Living in a material, right? Material world. We are in a material world, so it stands to reason we require material things. But because we require material things does not mean that that is what or all that we are. It just means it's where we are. Right? So you act according to where you are. When in Rome, right? So it's a beautiful thing. And I'm glad you stuck around to share in it with me. And I trust that you will use it and apply it and change your life from the inside out. There's a song for just about everything out here in the world. It really is. But I'm gonna let y'all go so that I can be ready for this child. Because now he's taller than me. He's 5'1". Give him his strength, Lord. He's 5'1". Oh, yes, he is. He's got another foot to go, I'm sure. But you know how it is. He says, oh, Mom. And he feels so good about that. I'm like, you should feel good about being 5'1". He says, you're not done growing yet. You've got a ways to go yet. You know? My wee little one. I remember when he was just 7 pounds, 2 ounces. And his socks used to fit him like boots. I remember that vividly. And now look at him. And his voice is deeper. I bug him about that. He'll say something to me, and I'm like, what are you saying? What are you talking about? That's what I'll say. He's like, come on, Mom. I'm like, come on, Mom. And he just cracks up. He's like, oh. I'm like, aw, your voice has changed. Because anytime his voice cracks when he talks, he's like, and there goes another voice crack. I'm like, dude, that's just par for the course, man. Just par for the course. I'm like, dude, my voice cracks too. And I am way older than you are. Right? So we just have a good time with this phase that he's going through, you know? And he's learning so much. And he's got so many questions. Yeah. Anywho, I just thought I'd share that little tidbit with you. He's a good boy. And 5'1". I cannot believe it. All in my face. Because I'm 4'11". And he's looking eye to eye with me now. And I'm like, Lord, here we go. So, anywho, parting is really such a sweet song. But I'll see you all in the morning. Much love to you all. Peace.